Hello everyone and welcome to my channel Y&R Trends. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Audra did commodity on Y&R no one saw coming. Should Claire trust her? Audra bravely flirts with Holden. At Crimson Lights, Audra continued flirting with Holden, which suggests she's bothered by his relationship with Claire. She wanted to know if they had an understanding. Holden was apprehensive that Audra could flirt with the stylish, but he wanted to know why she was trying to soften him up. Audra laughed and told Holden that she felt like flirting with him. She knows his moves, having seen him in action ahead. Holden is also apprehensive of her moves. She wanted nothing to do with him when he first showed up in Genoa City. Audra could tell there was still chemistry between them. Meanwhile, Claire walked by and saw them flirting. She incontinently asked Holden if they were still on for regale. She casually said hi to Audra, who wished her a happy new year. Audra indeed remarked that Claire looked well. So what's going on then? Audra went from flirting with Holden to being nice to Claire. Does she have an ulterior motive? Holden could end up as the new commanding man of Genoa City with these two ladies fighting over him. Should Claire accept Audra's peace offering? Claire wanted to know what was going on. Audra assured Claire that nothing was passing. She wanted to apologize to Claire for everything she's done. She no longer wants to get into petty fights. Audra's reason shocked Claire. Audra explained that they've to learn how to attend in this small city. Also, she wished Claire and Holden a good night and hoped they would enjoy their regale. Claire has every right to be suspicious of Audra. She's not the type to apologize and admit her faults. Perhaps her fellowship with Sally is rubbing off on her. Audra's smile dallied long after Claire and Holden walked out of Crimson Lights, the bell over the door chiming like a punctuation mark on a moment that felt anything but finished. Once they were gone, Audra's posture shifted, subtle, rehearsed, the way it always did when she dropped the performance. She reached for her untouched latte, swirling it absently as if stirring studies she had no intention of sharing. Holden had noticed it too. He broke at the door, just for a bit of a alternate, seeing commodity untreated in the air. Audra caught his regard and lifted her mug in a mock toast, her eyes flashing with commodity far more calculating than coyness. Outside, Claire tried to keep her tone light as they headed toward the parking lot, but her mind was contending. She abominated that it bothered her. She abominated that Audra still had the power to get under her skin without raising her voice, or throwing a single personality. So, Claire said precisely, that was friendly. Holden chortled. However, there was vacillation behind it. That's one word for it. Claire stopped walking and turned to face him. You and Audra. Is there commodity I should know? Holden met her aspect. Humorless, predicated. There's history, not a present. Whatever she's doing, it's about her, not me. Claire jounced, but the apprehension didn't fade. Audra's reason echoed in her head, too neat, too polished. Audra didn't do guilt. She did influence. Back at Crimson Lights, Audra eventually allowed herself a quiet shriek. Sally Spectra slipped into the seat across from her moments laterally, eyes sharp, formerly reading between the lines. You were flirting again, Sally said flatly. Audra arched a brow. I always flirt. Sally leaned in. You do'n't apologize, however. Especially not to someone you formerly tried to outthink. Audra smiled noiselessly. People change. Sally scarfed. Or they acclimatize. That made Audra laugh, a low knowing sound. Claire is different, Audra replied. She's smart, but she's still learning how this city works. I'm just choosing a different strategy. Sally's aspect hardened. Just don't pretend this is about peace. Audra's smile faded. Nothing in Genoa City ever is. Latterly that night, Claire stood in front of her glass, replaying the hassle. Audra's words had been kind, nearly warm, and that unsettled her further than open hostility ever could. When Audra had been her adversary, Claire knew where she stood. But this interpretation, gracious, pacific, felt like a chess move she hadn't anticipated. Holden knocked vocally on the door, concern etched across his face. You okay? He asked. Claire dithered, also jounced. I just do'n't trust easy justifications. Holden smiled gently. Also do'n't trust me rather. She searched his face, wanting to believe him, demanding to, and she did, at least for now. The coming morning, Audra met with Victor Newman under the guise of a business update. Victor watched her precisely, every word measured. "You've been quieter recently," he observed. Audra didn't blench. "I've been learning." Victor scowled. "That generally means someone's planning commodity." Audra leaned forward. "Or choosing which battles are worth fighting." Victor studied her for a long moment before seesawing. "Just flash back. This city rewards tolerance, but it punishes saccharinity." Audra met his regard. "I'm counting on that." Meanwhile, Claire commended in Nikki, her voice low and uncertain. "She apologized," Claire said. Nikki's expression remained calm, but her eyes betrayed dubitation. "Audra apologizes when it serves her." Claire soughed. "That's what I'm hysterical of." Nikki rested a hand on her arm. "Trust your instincts. And flashback, you don't owe anyone remission just because they ask for it." Claire jounced, thankful for the grounding presence. Still, mistrustfulness dallied. Audra's unforeseen civility felt like the calm before a storm. Holden, for his part, set up himself caught between two veritably different powers. With Claire, effects felt real, steady, hopeful. With Audra there was familiarity, peril. A participated past that refused to stay buried. When Audra texted him latterly that day, "No docket. Just coffee?" he goggled at his phone longer than he should have. He didn't respond. Not incontinently. But Audra noticed the detention and she smiled. Seeds formerly planted didn't need constant tending. Days passed, and Audra continued her crusade of civility. She crossed paths with Claire at society, offering polite discussion, indeed praise. "You're handling Newman Media well," Audra remarked casually. Claire blinked, caught off guard. "Thank you." Each commerce minced down at Claire's defenses, not because Audra felt sincere, but because she felt harmonious. That thickness was dangerous. Sally brazened Audra again, this time without pretense. "You're disarming her," Sally said. "Why?" Audra exhaled sluggishly. "Because adversaries anticipate shanks. Abettors lower their guard." Sally shook her head. "And Holden?" Audra's eyes flitted. "Collateral emotion." Sally stood. "That's how people get hurt." Audra looked down. "That's how this city works." The pressure eventually cracked when Claire eavesdropped Audra on the phone one evening, her voice low, critical. "No, it's working," Audra said. "She trusts me enough." Claire said in the hallway, heart pounding. Trusts her enough for what? Before Claire could hear more, Audra ended the call and turned, startled to see her. "How long were you standing there?" Audra asked. Claire forced a smile. "Long enough." The air thickened incontinently. "Trust is fragile, Audra," Claire said still. "You break it formerly, it doesn't come back." Audra met her aspect. Undecipherable. "Also, it's a good thing I'm being careful." That night, Claire eventually raised her fears to Holden. "I suppose Audra's playing a long game," she said. Holden lowered. "What kind of game?" Claire shook her head. "I don't know yet. That's what scares me." Holden took her hand. "Whatever it is, we face it together." Claire wanted to believe that would be enough. Across city, Audra poured herself a drink, gaping out at the megacity lights. "Nearly there," she muttered to herself. Whether that meant redemption, vengeance, or commodity far more complicated, indeed Audra wasn't entirely sure presently. In Genoa City, alliances infrequently stayed pure, justifications frequently masked ambition, and trust was the most dangerous currency of all. And as Audra's unanticipated move transferred ripples through Claire's world, one verity came decreasingly clear: no bone did commodity like Audra unless there was a price to be paid. And the bill was coming due. The following morning in Genoa City arrived wrapped in deceptive calm. The sun glinted off Newman Tower's glass surface, giving the vision of order and control. But outside, pressures coddled just beneath the face. Claire sat at her office, gaping at her laptop screen without really seeing it. Audra's voice from the night before replayed in her mind. "She trusts me enough." The words cleaved like bank, insolvable to sweat down. Claire flattered herself on being rational. She had survived worse than a kittenish rival and a suspicious reason. Yet commodity about Audra's unforeseen metamorphosis eroded at her. It was guilt-driven. It was emotional. It was strategic. Claire knew that because she honored it. She had learned strategy from the Newmans themselves. Across city, Audra Charles moved through society with advised grace. Her heels echoed against the marble bottom as she saluted familiar faces, offering grins that revealed nothing and everything each at formerly. She had slept well. Commodity she hadn't done in weeks. The plan was progressing, or at least the interpretation of the plan she allowed herself to admit. Sally Spectra joined her at the bar, arms crossed. "You're enjoying this," Sally observed. Audra accepted her drink without looking down from the room. "Enjoying what?" Sally leaned near. "The confusion. The mistrustfulness. You've turned the temperature down just enough to make everyone forget you're able of burning the house down." Audra eventually turned, eyes sharp. "I'm not burning anything. I'm evolving." Sally soughed. "That's what you said last time right before you exploded 3 connections." Audra didn't respond. Rather, she spotted Holden entering society. He broke when he saw her, their eyes locking compactly. The moment was implied, weighted with history neither of them had duly resolved. Sally followed Audra's aspect and shook her head. "You're still playing with fire." Audra took a belt. "I've always known how not to get burned." Holden, meanwhile, felt like Genoa City had suddenly shrunk. Far and wide he turned. There were prospects, implied questions hanging in the air. He watched about Claire. That much was real. But Audra represented a history where effects had been simpler, rawer, less defined. He abominated that the pull still was. He abominated more that Audra knew it. Latterly that autumn, Claire crossed paths with Audra in the Newman Tower elevator. The doors slid shut, sealing them into a confined silence that felt anything but accidental. Audra broke it first. "I meant what I said," she offered calmly. "About wanting peace." Claire studied her reflection in the imaged wall. "Peace generally comes with honesty." Audra jounced sluggishly. "Also then it is. I'm tired of fighting battles that do'n't serve me presently." Claire turned. "And Holden?" Audra met her aspect. "He's not a battle. He's a variable." The elevator stopped. Claire stepped out without another word, but Audra's words followed her like a shadow. Variable. Not prize. Not target. Variable meant changeable. And Audra abominated unpredictability. That evening, Victor Newman reviewed a non-public report at the estate. Nikki noticed the miserliness in his jaw. "Audra," she guessed. Victor didn't deny it. "She's shifting gears." Nikki lowered. "That doesn't make her inoffensive." Victor scowled. "No. It makes her dangerous." Nikki sat beside him. "Also, why keep her close?" Victor's eyes lustered. "Because people reveal their true intentions when they suppose they're winning." Claire, meanwhile, commended in Kyle, pacing nervously in his living room. "She's too calm," Claire said. "Audra doesn't just let effects go." Kyle crossed his arms. "Perhaps she's actually trying to grow." Claire stopped pacing. "People do'n't change overnight. They rebrand." Kyle soughed. "Also keep your eyes open. And do'n't let Holden be your eyeless spot." Holden himself plotted with guilt he couldn't completely name. When Audra texted him again, no pressure. "Just talking." He eventually replied. "Coffee. Public place." Audra smiled when she read it. Boundaries meant interest. Their meeting was cordial, subdued. Too subdued. "You feel different," Holden remarked. Audra signed. "So do you." Holden studied her. "Why apologize to Claire?" Audra didn't blench. "Because I was wrong." Holden lowered. "You're no way just wrong." Audra smiled noiselessly. "Perhaps that's the problem." But indeed, as she spoke, Audra watched his responses precisely. She wasn't lying, not entirely. She was tired of chaos. But she was also tired of losing. And Holden signified further than she was willing to admit. Claire set up out about the coffee from Sally, not from Holden. That hurt more than she anticipated. When she brazened him, Holden didn't redirect. "I didn't want secrets," he said. "But I didn't want drama moreover." Claire's voice quivered. "Audra is drama. She just wears it better." Holden reached for her hand. "I choose you." Claire jounced, but commodity fractured still inside her. Audra tasted the shift incontinently. Claire's warmth cooled. The grins came polite again. Distance returned. Audra told herself that was fine. Distance meant control. Yet when she saw Holden and Claire together, laughing commodity crooked sprucely in her casket. Not covetousness, she refused to name it that. Remorse maybe. Pressure escalated when a non-public design offer blurted. One Claire had overseen, one Audra had access to. Fingers refocused. Tails spread. Claire felt blindsided. Audra looked authentically offended when indicted. You suppose I'd sabotage you after making peace? She asked coolly. Claire's voice shook. I doan't know what to suppose presently. Victor interposed, shutting down the disquisition intimately while still ordering a deeper inquiry. Nikki advised Claire to be careful. Sally advised Audra to walk down. Neither woman heeded. The verity surfaced days latterly the leak hadn't come from either of them. It was an external player exploiting their contest. But the damage was done. Trust had been strained. Lines redrawn. Holden brazened Audra late one night. This ends, he said forcefully. Whatever game you suppose you're playing. Audra goggled at him, eyes lustrous but recalcitrant. It's not a game. Holden shook his head. Also stop treating people like pieces. Audra rumored. I doan't know how. Claire eavesdropped part of that exchange. Not enough for clarity. Just enough for mistrustfulness. By the time the dust settled, Genoa City felt altered. Alliances had shifted. Hearts were bruised. And Audra stood alone on the society deck, gaping out at the skyline, eventually admitting commodity she hadn't planned for at all. She hadn't anticipated to watch. And in Genoa City, minding was the most dangerous move of all. The apprehension didn't fade after the leak was resolved, however. It grew sharper, more particular, if anything. Claire felt it in every room she entered, in every regard that dallied a second too long. Genoa City had a way of flashing back conflict indeed after the data were settled. People smiled but questions remained. Claire tried to bury herself in work, but focus came in fractions. She kept replaying Holden's voice, this ends, and Audra's quiet reply, I doan't know how. That concession visited her. Audra had no way sounded doubtful ahead. Query made her changeable. At society, Audra sat alone, nursing a drink she hadn't touched. Sally slid into the president beside her without asking. You're unraveling, Sally said vocally. Audra exhaled. I'm reassessing. Sally raised an eyebrow. That's a dangerous stage for you. Audra looked down. I didn't plan to feel boxed in. Sally lowered. By Claire. Audra shook her head. By myself. Meanwhile, Holden stood on the yard at Crimson Lights, gaping at his phone. He hadn't texted Claire back yet. Not because he didn't watch, but because every communication he drafted felt shy. He abominated being the axis of pressure between two women who merited honesty. He eventually compartmented, can we talk tonight? The reply came nearly incontinently yes. That night, Claire heeded as Holden laid everything out. His history with Audra, the undetermined edges, the coffee meeting, the battle. He didn't defend himself. He didn't minimize anything. When he finished, Claire sat still for a long moment. I doan't suppose you want Audra, she said eventually. But I suppose part of you doesn't want to let her go. Holden jounced. I doan't know how to close a door that no way really shut. Claire's voice cracked. Also you need to figure that out, because I wa'n't contend with someone who still has access to your heart. Holden reached for her hand, but she pulled down gently. I'm not leaving, she added. I'm just not ignoring reality presently. Across city, Audra entered an unanticipated visit, from Victor Newman. He didn't sit. He didn't desolate time. You've come a liability, he said bluntly. Audra strengthened. To whom? Victor's aspect was piercing. To yourself. You're losing focus. Audra met his regard. Or perhaps I'm gaining perspective. Victor scarfed. Perspective doesn't make you vacillate. Audra replied unevenly. Neither does sweat. Victor studied her for a long moment. Careful. Emotional elaboration has ended more conglomerates than bad strategy. Audra didn't argue. She formerly knew. The coming day, Claire and Audra crossed paths again. This time alone, no substantiations, no pretense. I heard Victor talk to you, Claire said still. Audra lifted her head. Genoa City loves its rumors. Claire stepped closer. I do and watch what you say to me presently. I watch what you do. Audra jounced sluggishly. Show. Claire's voice hardened. So then it is, however, you'll stop ringing my relationship if you're sincere. Audra's eyes flitted. And if I do and? Claire held her aspect. Also we stop pretending this is peace. Audra didn't respond right down. When she eventually did, her voice was low. I no way wanted to hurt you. Claire replied without vacillation. Intent doesn't abolish impact. That night, Audra stood alone in her apartment, gaping at her phone. Holden's contact name glowed on the screen. She could text him. She knew exactly what to say. She also knew exactly what it would bring. After a long beat, she turned the phone face down. Away, Claire sat by her window watching the megacity lights. She wasn't certain she'd made the right choice, but she was certain she'd made an honest bone. And in Genoa City, honesty was infrequently awarded incontinently, but it always changed the game.